Good afternoon. So I'm presenting on behalf of the Tvet Quality Group, a relatively small group, but I hope we've done some good work. Can you change the slide? So these are the group members: C-TEL, Cape Coast Technical University, G-TEL, Ministry of Education, GIZ, the private sector Elgin Company, and I was the secretary. I didn't make any, I don't know so much about Tvet, but I wrote down everything that they were saying. So any errors are mine. So we thought we'd start with a slide. We haven't heard much about Tvet so far over the past 2 days, so we just wanted to give you some good news about Tvet. I think there is a general perception that Tvet isn't going very well, but actually there's been some very good progress in recent years. We have 15 now sector skills bodies. We've developed competency-based qualifications in partnership with industry for all of those sectors, incorporating what we call workplace experience learning well. There is a national Tvet qualifications framework. Don't ask me to say the acronym, NTVETQF. We need to get better at acronyms, I think. That provides clarity on the learning pathways, and we have recognition of prior learning, so people that have acquired their skills informally, it can now be certified and recognized. We had 3 acts of parliament passed in 2020 to establish the Commission for Tvet, C-TEL, which is the regulatory body for Tvet, established the Ghana Tvet service, so for the first time, all of our pre-tertiary Tvet institutions are under a single agency. And then we created AMUSTED, the Akenta Apiamenka University of Skills, Training and Entrepreneurship Development. Akenta Apiamenka University of Skills, Training and Entrepreneurship Development. AMUSTED provides an opportunity to enhance the quality and relevance of Tvet instructor training, and then also technical universities now offer higher level qualifications in Tvet up to doctorate level, so you can get a doctorate in a Tvet qualification. And then we have a national Tvet policy that has been finalized and will shortly be approved by the government of Ghana through the Honourable Minister, I'm sure. So those are the good things. We should be proud of what we've done. But we identified 5, thank you. So let's clap for Tvet. Good progress. But there are 5 main issues and challenges that we identified that we're going to try to address. First, issues with the implementation of competency-based training, CBT, where you're assessing can people actually do these things. Some trainers are not fully conversant in CBT approaches and they lack up-to-date industry experience. The second issue, difficulties in creating industry partnerships and issues with the workplace experience learning. Third, overcrowded Tvet, yes, slide, thank you. Third, overcrowded Tvet institutions, pre-tertiary and tertiary, which lack infrastructure, practical materials and equipment, and then a variable quality of leadership in Tvet institutions, with some leaders not showing the entrepreneurial approach and business acumen required to succeed in the sector. We heard His Excellency talk yesterday about Ghanaian leadership standards. We need different standards in Tvet institutions as we do for mainstream education, because the skill set required is more industry focused, it's different. And then we also have issues with gender equality, social inclusion and sustainability in some Tvet institutions. So, recommendations. So the first issue, what can we do to address issues with the implementation of CBT? First of all, we need to be realistic. We need to be realistic about where we are as Ghana, as a country. We can't just be importing other people's ideologies and other people's way of doing things. We need to look at making CBT work for Ghana. We need to develop a 5-year plan to improve the fidelity of CBT implementation, looking at the range of institutions, which ones are doing CBT well, which ones are further away, so we can have a practical plan. And that must include teaching and non-teaching staff and consider issues of motivation. Motivation is really critical. We can talk all we want about technical solutions, but if the teaching staff and the non-teaching staff are not feeling motivated, the best plans we put in place are not going to be implemented. Secondly, introduce a trainer currency system. Every trainer in a public Tvet institution must have a background in that trade. And they must go back into industry for a minimum of 22 days per year to ensure that their skills are current. I might have trained in industry 10 years ago. What industry is doing today is very different to what it was doing 10 years ago. So 22 days a year back into industry. We need to ensure that progression and promotion pathways for trainers recognize and reward industry experience rather than being over-reliant on academic qualifications. I'm a bit nervous about saying this given all the professors in the room, but sometimes in Ghana we focus too much on academic qualifications and not enough on practical experience and expertise. And in Tvet, I speak as someone that is trying and failing to get a PhD at UCC. So I'm being very honest about it. But particularly in Tvet, we need to focus on that industry expertise. We need to consider stricter enforcement of specialisms for technical institutes and technical universities, so they don't try to cover all sectors, but instead they're guided by data. Unfortunately, we know what happens at the moment. Technical universities feel that they need to generate as much income as possible, so they start to put on all sorts of courses that are not related to their specialism. And we have a disconnect between the products of the universities and the labor market. And that is an issue. It's a significant issue. And then we need to involve industry representatives in the final CBT assessments, along with assessors from Tvet institutions. CBT means that I can practically do something. If we involve people from industry in doing that final practical assessment, then industry will have the confidence that, yes, this person can really do what their certificate says, and then they will take them on. So that's the first issue. Second, recommendations. Hey, I'm on the second one and you're on the third. Are you telling me to... I'm glad you've been listening to what I've been saying. The second one. Recommendations to enhance industry partnerships. Without employers, Tvet won't work. At the moment, with the workplace experience learning, the placements can be as short as 8 weeks, and the employers are not happy about that. They say, you're bringing these young people, they're breaking our machines, they don't know what they're doing. Let's make the placements longer so that the employers can get some economic benefit out of the learners. If they're there for 9 months, for 12 months, the employer sees that they're then starting to deliver benefits to the business, like national service. Many employers like taking national service because they're getting cheaper labor. But if the people are getting skills as well, so let's look at extending the length of those placements so employers see the bottom line benefits of giving the placement. Let's change the Tvet calendar. Let's change the calendar for Tvet instead of aligning it with GES so that technical institutes have a longer time in the year to do industry attachments than is currently the place. And when we communicate with employers, let's focus on the business benefits to them. Let's not focus on the corporate social responsibility. Ultimately, a business is there to make a profit. So let's show the employers how by investing in this, it can help them increase profits rather than looking at CSR. Government should consider incentives such as tax breaks or measures such as payroll levies to encourage companies to offer placements. And I'll come to that in a minute. And then we need to utilize sector skills bodies to enhance employer dialogue. You, Marty. Number 3. Recommendations to overcome the challenges of overcrowded Tvet institutions. I promised GTVET I would give a positive and a negative. If we look at our technical institutes, Dabukpa Technical Institute in Tamale, very, very high quality technical institute. Another technical institute I went to, I won't mention the name, it's in Western region. There were 96 learners in an electrical engineering class and they did not have one piece of wire between them. And you wonder, what are those people going to be doing? So we have a lot of, it's true, unfortunately this is the reality. We have some very, very good institutes and we have others that are not so good. Let's respect the harmonized CBT guidelines. We have guidelines. Our guidelines say 20 learners per one tutor. So let's try to respect them as much as possible instead of trying to put as many people as possible into a class. Let's introduce a Tvet fund backed by Get Fund. 20% of expenditure is then going to Tvet to provide funding for materials, practicals, infrastructure. Partner with industry to reduce reliance on Tvet institutions' own equipment. This is the #1 mistake that I've seen countries make. I made this mistake myself when I was Gordon Brown's apprenticeship advisor in the UK. You spend a lot of money as government buying expensive equipment, expensive machines, and you put them in Tvet institutes, and in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, they're obsolete. And nobody knows how to use those machines anyway. Work with industry. Work with industry, partner with employers. So what will happen, you just have to provide the classroom. 2 days a week, 3 days a week, they're in the classroom. 2 days a week, 3 days a week, they're with the employer. They're using the employer's machines. It is a lot cheaper giving tax breaks. It is a lot cheaper giving tax breaks to employers, giving incentives to employers, than it is to buy your own white elephant machines and put them inside your own institutions. This means that Tvet institutions have to specialize. If you're in Tema, you should be focusing in manufacturing. If you're somewhere in Northeast region, you should focus on agriculture. Focus on linking to your economy. We cannot do everything in every technical institute. We need to take hard choices about what institutions do. Let's look at what the best institutions are doing. Set up production units as mini industries in Tvet institutions. If we're looking at buying furniture, GES, please, let's buy from the technical institutes. If we're looking at buying a uniform, let's buy uniforms from the technical institutes. Let's look at a virtuous cycle of funding. I've almost finished. We need to introduce Ghanaian Tvet leadership standards, developed in partnership with industry, setting out the expectations, the behaviors of entrepreneurial leaders. Develop a performance management for Tvet framework for Tvet institutions linked to those standards, and then introduce tracer studies. The incentives in the system are not right. We need a joined up approach between enrollment and the needs of the labor market to stop institutions taking on learners to improve their own financial position and then not caring what happens to those learners when they remain unemployed after graduation. Let's introduce tracer studies for all of those institutions so we can see how many people are actually getting employed. And finally, sustainability, inclusion, green and digital skills. Tvet institutions should be intentional about considering the needs of all learners, including gender stereotypes, catering for those with disabilities, disadvantaged backgrounds when developing institutional plans. And then we need to operationalize. We have new qualifications. I didn't know until today. We have qualifications in renewable energy. We have qualifications in recycling. So let's look at operationalizing those. Let's look at institutions taking those on in a partnership, technical universities, government bodies. University of Ghana, you want to save 5 million on your electric bill, partner with a Tvet institution to do renewable energy. And there we go, I have finished. Thank you very much. Merci pas.
Thank you so much. Can we give it to him again?